On today's episode of the Hustle of the Day podcast, I speak to Hassanatou Barry. She has taken her side hustle from part-time to full-time, and we talk about how she is now impacting others. Welcome everybody to the Hustle of the Day podcast. I've got Hassanatou Barry here with me. I'm very excited that she took the time out of her day to come on the Hustle of the Day podcast. And she's going to talk to you a little bit about what she's doing. So why don't you jump in here, Hassanatou, and tell me a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Hassanatou Barry, and I'm the proud founder of the Babysitter Guru, which is an informational hub for babysitters to seek resources and guidance in becoming the best babysitter they could possibly be, and also assist parents in their transition into seeking childcare.
Very cool. So you might think, why are we talking about babysitting on an entrepreneur-focused podcast? But she's got a great story on this, so I want you to talk about that here in a second. But also, it's important to me as a father of 3 kids, having the right resources for babysitters. You want to make sure that you've got the right person there, and fortunately, that's something you're working on. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Babysitter Guru?
Sure. So when I first started the Babysitter Guru, I was just 16 years old, right? I was in high school. I needed to pay my senior dues. I'm a very independent individual, and I decided to do babysitting. I love children, so why not, right? I started babysitting in high school. That eventually turned into college while I was there. In addition to attending school full-time and interning full-time, I babysat on the weekends. And then after college was over, I got my full-time job, and I was still babysitting. So I'm like, you know what? Babysitting is my side hustle. I know what I'm good at. And I know I love the children. I know I love the parents I babysit for. So why not turn my side hustle into actual business? I saw that there was a need and a representation for babysitters out there, because there was none. There's plenty for nannies, but there's none for babysitters. Babysitters are the number one short-term option for parents. It's on an irregular basis. It's affordable compared to nannies. And it's on demand. You have them when you need them. For example, date night, which is like the number one thing babysitters, you have a babysitter for date night. So yeah. So I saw the demand and I went for it.
Very cool. So you were, you had your side hustle, you'd been working out for a while, you have the knowledge, you have the passion for it. I mean, that's just the perfect ingredient for a side hustle, but you talked about how many other things you were doing, the full-time job, college, all these things. For a side hustle to really work, you've got to have that passion, right?
Yes, you do. You must have the passion, because without the passion, then you won't feel the need to do it, right? If you have passion behind something, you're going to put your 110% in. And once you do that, then the rest is all up to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. We talked about that a little bit before we started recording. You got to have that hustle energy where after the end of the day, you still have that passion to keep dedicating the time to that side hustle. So that's very cool that you're doing that and that you did do that. And the great thing is you turned it into your full-time hustle, right?
Yes, I did. So I'm happy. I'm only how many months in? Since April. So 7 months.
Okay. Pretty recent journey then.
Recent, very recent. But I'm looking forward to a long journey ahead of me. So I'm excited.
Absolutely. So what exactly are the services that Babysitter Guru offers?
Sure. So one of the first services is babysitter consultations. So the first of its kind. What I do is consult babysitters who are currently having trouble, let's just say, in payment negotiation or giving notice if they have to leave one family to go babysit for another. Kind of establishing that open communication. I am very big and keen on open communication. Without that, I feel like that's the base and the foundation of building a house. So the base and foundation of building a relationship between a caregiver and a family, communication has to be that first. So establishing open communication, payment negotiation, all that stuff that babysitters need in order to make their babysitter journey as smooth as possible. So I help babysitters who are in the beginning stages, who haven't started yet and want to start, or babysitters who are currently babysitting but experiencing a bit trouble and need kind of guidance in that section. The second resource that I have would be for the 2020 is the babysitting training course, which I'm excited about. It's a course for babysitters created by a babysitter. So that'll be coming out soon. And then hopefully I'll be working on something else for parents from the Babysitter Guru. And then in addition to that, I work with brands, kind of being like a face and representation and a voice for babysitters out there.
Very cool. So, I mean, just having that knowledge for a babysitter, or from my perspective, a parent, would be awesome. Like just the whole, like you mentioned, the payment negotiation, that's a big deal when you're a babysitter. It's having that open communication, like you said, is crucial. And fortunately, there's usually, when we have somebody babysit, they get the benefit of me not usually having the right amount of change on me. So it's okay, it's $8 an hour and I've only got 20. So we're going to give you So it usually works out to their benefit. But I can tell you there's definitely a difference when you negotiate that up front versus at the end, and it gets a little awkward. So that's very cool that you're offering that consultation for the babysitters, and I look forward to the parent side as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about the courses that you've got lined up for babysitters.
Sure. So currently I'm in the position of planning it and kind of mapping it all out. It's the first time that I'm doing it, so it's a bit intimidating. I actually purchased additional course to teach myself how to do it instead of having someone else do it for me to do it, because it's what I experienced. I want to create it my own, and it's pretty intense. So kudos to anyone who's out there who created their own course. Good. Contact me. But yeah, I'm currently in the midst of creating it step by step, each PowerPoint slide, recording videos. I'm all about visuals and having like that actual face right there talking to you. I love doing videos. That's why I decided to do my YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. I just want to talk directly to you. I want you to be able to see me, to see my face expressions when I talk. So yeah, incorporating videos into the slides as well when I'm talking about a certain topic. But yeah, the training course is pretty intense, but I'm excited because this is something I'm working very hard on and has reliable and valuable information. Yeah.
So I spoke to another guest a couple weeks ago, and he launched his own course, and he learned from his mistakes. He's like, the most important part of launching a course is actually the run up to launching the course, having the pre-launch and then, the pre-launch and getting the excitement built up for it before the course. He's like, I just put my course out there and it fell flat on its face. Mm-hmm. I just expected people to buy it because, I would put it out there. And so I can talk to you a little bit more about that once we're done. But yeah, it's very cool to be able to launch a course. And that's something, I hope to do in the future with some of the things I'm working on. So hopefully I can learn from your experience as well after you launch your course.
Yes, of course.
I want to dig in a little bit more into you. Who was most influential on who you became today? You mentioned you're an independent woman, and you've definitely got the work ethic. What kind of helped inspire that?
Sure. My parents. My mom is very independent, and I am the youngest of 4. So I have a twin sister. We're a couple of minutes apart. So I always tell people I'm still the youngest. Okay? I'm still the youngest. But it's 3 girls, 1 boy, and my mom always taught us independence. Don't rely on anyone. Make sure you're independent and you go after what you want. So yeah, it would definitely be my parents. My parents are originally from West Africa. When they came here with my siblings, and then they had me and my sister. So just teaching us, structure. Education is important. You go after what you want, and just, being respectful, do what you want to do, but also do it in a demeanor where it's respected. but also doing what you love, pursuing what you love. And I know this is not something that's common amongst my culture. Being an entrepreneur, you kind of want to be a doctor or a nurse or a business person. But when you say you want to do an entrepreneur and then, okay, fine, you want to start your own business, but in what? And I say babysitting, you're like, what? That doesn't exist. What are you talking about? So it took some time convincing, but they're my number one supporters. Literally my number one supporters. Right before this call, I told my mom, like, hey, I'm going on a podcast interview with Trent. And she was like, what is that? And so I told her, and she's like, well, good luck. I'm not going to bother you. Just make sure you do what you need to do. And, I know you're going to rock it. See, so they're my huge supporters. Even though I'm very independent, I got it from them.
That's very cool.
Yep.
And that's awesome that you have, supporters that are close to you. I mean, that's a huge thing. Having, parent figures or spouse or, significant other, whatever the case may be, somebody who's close to you, having them be your supporter is huge in the entrepreneurial world. But I get that, some people are like, why do you want to be an entrepreneur for babysitting? But like you mentioned, it's your passion. I mean, it's what it's your passion. That's going to make all the difference. Mm-hmm. As long as you're going to be successful and you keep at it, you will be. So that's very cool. And then how is it that you decided to get into babysitting and make it a business,
So it all started off with me just connecting with babysitters in general. I like talking and I like giving advice. And as I mentioned before, I'll give you my 100% advice. So through talking with babysitters, I even came across a situation where at my old job, I was recruiting volunteers at the time. And I was in a room with another volunteer. We were just talking. And she mentioned to me, in addition to volunteering, she babysits. And she told me the trouble she was having with the particular family she was babysitting for. And the stuff she was telling me, it was unfortunate because I knew she was being taken advantage of, unfortunately. And me and her went into like a whole 2-hour conversation right after work. And I just told her, I'm like, hey, this is what you need to do, A, B, and C. And I knew, I'm like, if she's experiencing this, right, there's plenty of other babysitters experiencing this. And New York City is the top 5 state where babysitting is in high demand. Yep. And the pricing for babysitting is pretty high. So, I live in New York City. She also lives in New York. And I was like, if she's experiencing this, there's tons of babysitters experiencing this, especially in New York City.
For sure.
So I was like, what? I could turn this into something. I definitely can. And I knew it existed for nannies already. And, nannies and babysitters were very close. We have the love of children in common, but it is different. It varies a bit. So I knew it existed for nannies. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start this for babysitters. It exists.
Very cool. So being independent and being an entrepreneur kind of go hand in hand, don't they? I mean, yes. Yeah.
Sure does. Sure does.
So you saw the opportunity by talking to someone, figuring out that people are having this pain point, which solving a pain point is the entire reason for starting most businesses. Yes. But we all experience failures along the way. What do you think was your biggest failure in that, and what did you learn from that?
Sure. So one of the services, how I determine my services is through doing research directly. One of the ways I do my research is through Facebook polls. So I'm in several parenting Facebook groups. It was to a point where one of the Facebook groups, I had to pretend like I was a parent. So I had a picture of me and my niece. And I was like, that's my daughter. Embarrassing fact, but it's true. So I'm in 5 Facebook groups and I do weekly Facebook polls. So I just, submit random questions and see the responses. I was kind of deciding exactly what service I wanted to offer parents. And one of the ideas that I had was, would parents be open to hiring a babysitting expert to come in and train their babysitters? And I did a poll on that and the responses were mixed. Some of the comments that I received, were very interesting. And, that was a bit discouraging. I feel like that was a kind of a failure because I'm still testing stuff out. Yeah. I'm fairly new. But it got to me a little bit. But I remember afterwards, I spoke with my mom, and she's like, that's the life of an entrepreneur. She's like, you're going to have setbacks. You're going to have people making comments that, doesn't directly relate to what you're doing. Or if it does, it's not so nice. She's like, you block that all out. The best you could do is take that information and go back to a drawing board and, try to figure something else out and then go back to them and say, hey, is this something better? Right.
Yeah.
So I feel like that was a little failure of mine, seeing that, that didn't work out. And then another failure, I wouldn't say failure, but maybe like a mixed review was when I first introduced the Babysitter Guru, people thought I was an agency. So I was like, why would people think I was an agency? And I went back to my parents again, and she's like, okay, if you think about it, when you hear the Babysitter Guru, what's something that comes to your head? A babysitter. Okay. When you think of a babysitter, what else do you think about? Maybe an agency, maybe you help parents, attach them to a babysitter. Who knows? And I told them, I'm like, no, I don't do that. I kind of do something that doesn't exist. Right. And I'm the first one to do it. So I'm going to tell you exactly what I do, and I'm going to explain it to you so that you understand. But yeah, so those are my two failures so far.
Okay. Well, relatively speaking, those are pretty minor failures, so that's good. I understand they can mess with you mentally and whatnot, gain those mixed reviews. But personally, as a parent, I'd love it if a babysitter was more trained, and especially with a newborn, it's like if I'm leaving them with this precious little baby, it's like I want to make sure they know what they're doing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so you right now mainly it's through recommendations from other parents, that I know they're capable of handling this. It would be nice to have a more formal application, or, kind of like the, if you're big on a social media platform, you have the check mark, that you're verified. It's like, it'd be great to have a verified babysitter, that has been through your training course or something like that. That would be very cool.
Feedback, Trent. I'm going to feed that with me.
So we've talked about, because, this is the Hustle Today podcast, I want to get your personal definition of the word hustle.
Okay. Giving it 110% without any doubts.
Mm. That's very cool. I've gotten a lot of different answers on that, and none of them have been wrong. They've been very... I like that. Without doubts. That's the key ingredient there.
Don't doubt yourself. Once you start, keep going. Keep going.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's say you took the side hustle, you turned it into your full-time hustle, which was very cool. How did you personally do that? And I guess what kind of recommendations would you give somebody who is working full-time, working on a side hustle, and wants to turn it into the full-time and exit from their full-time job?
Creating a community of supporters. So on LinkedIn, I kind of call myself the babysitter of LinkedIn, because I love LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. When you think of babysitting, you don't think of LinkedIn, but LinkedIn has such a strong power that whatever you're thinking about, you put it out there and you get the responses. And, it's coming from like a business perspective in a way. So I kind of saw exactly how people reacted to it. And it was amazing. I love my LinkedIn family. I kind of put out stories out there regarding babysitting, and then parents are on there. There's not as many babysitters on LinkedIn, but there's parents. So if I'm talking about, what to gift your sitters during the holiday season, you're like stuck, like I'll make a video for you just to talk about that. So having like a community of supporters. So my LinkedIn family, my family on Instagram, which is filled with nannies and babysitters over there. And then Facebook, and then my Sitter Nation, right? My fellow sitters. Just having a strong community kind of to support you.
Yeah, having that community is very helpful. I understand that. But like you mentioned, LinkedIn, that's a great resource, because they're typically more professional on there. They have events they need to attend to after typical work hours. They need babysitters. So really, I wouldn't have thought of it before you mentioned it, but it's like, yeah, that's actually a really great place for a babysitter to be.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes a lot of sense. Plus, there's a lot of organic reach on LinkedIn right now. So that's very cool. Very different from Instagram or Facebook. But
yeah, a lot of my connections to these brands were through LinkedIn. I would just make a regular post about my babysitting journey or how I'm doing with the Babysitter Guru, and I'll tag the brands.
mm-hmm.
And that's how I get in contact with them. So it's like, you're kind of putting your business out there, even though it's something unheard of. You put it out there and you see the responses, and I just love it. I love LinkedIn. I'm on there.
That's very cool. So you also mentioned, you Facebook groups, and you've got, your own, you've got all the parenting groups that you're a part of, but you've got your own babysitting Facebook group as well, correct?
Yes. It's called Sitter Nation. I literally started it last week, and I have like 130 members in it. And there's the Sitter Nation is not just based, because I live in New York, it's not just based in New York. It's for everyone worldwide. I accept everyone, all sitters, and we just talk. We're like your therapist, but not really your therapist. Like you come there and just let it all out. If you had a bad experience babysitting, you let us know. If you're seeking feedback on payment negotiation or a situation that happened when you were with the kids, we talk about it. You just go there, you talk about it. Right now, I'm kind of testing what works. So if doing Facebook Lives weekly will help, me talking or having different sitters do a Facebook Live. So yeah, we're testing it. It's only a week old, but yeah, just posting funny videos. I just recently posted a video of a baby. He was hungry, so he just started to play with the doll, and he thought it was just so funny. And I was just like, wait. And I put a caption, with quotes, "Hold on, I'm coming with your bottle." And everyone started laughing at it because it was so cute. The baby is hungry, and he's, he thinks the doll is his bottle. So,
right.
Just having humor and then also seeking advice is just a nice bond, sisterhood, brotherhood with both male sitters and female sitters.
Absolutely. And it's got to be so much different, babysitting a baby versus, a teenager, and just the whole gamut. I think that's where you've got a lot of opportunity too, is the different age groups and being able to, as you mentioned, it's therapy kind of, and it's amazing where we get that therapy. I recorded another podcast with somebody who is a full-time mental health, but then does on the side cosmetology, does hair. And she's like, it's totally a different type of therapy. They're both therapy, but it's different. And, like you mentioned, your Facebook group, it's a therapy of a way to kind of, okay, I'm not alone in this. I can't believe the parents did this, but, you compare it to somebody else's story and it's like, okay, that wasn't so bad, but that's very cool to have that outreach, and 130 members after 1 week is pretty stellar. So
thank you. I appreciate that.
I'll definitely be recommending it to the babysitters that we use, and hopefully they can help expand that group for you a little bit.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So you're definitely providing value to these babysitters, which is awesome. And that's really, the key nowadays is to be able to provide value to people.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that's been more of a recent thing for me is the networking aspect. You mentioned before we started recording, you get out there and you just talk to people, and podcasting is a great way to network. The Facebook groups are a great way to network. And how important has that been in your business?
Very important. That's exactly how I spread the word about the Babysitter Guru. This opportunity right now with Spotify. Someone literally messaged me on LinkedIn. And this is the funny part. Someone messaged me on LinkedIn. They're like, I feel like your message is so important. Go on Spotify. And I have never heard of Spotify in my life. And it wasn't until I went on, learned about it. And then that's when I came across his Wednesday weekly emails, and I found you. I was like, I need to message Trent. So yeah, just being able to put your message out there is really important. It's to a point where I have a shirt that has my logo and it says, "Ask me how to be a babysitter," and I walk outside.
That's very cool.
That's one of my, marketing techniques that I get in contact with people. So just being able to speak your voice. And I feel like once you kind of put an image behind a brand, it's more relatable. We're all human. So if it's more humanly and you can relate to it, the more you're more comfortable in kind of spreading the word about it or telling people about it. So yeah.
Yeah, that definitely works well in New York City of having, ask me how, that kind of shirt. Whereas if I were to walk outside my house, I might not run into somebody for a mile, just being in the suburbs. And so the guerrilla marketing tactics, just getting out there and having that and getting more eyes on it.
Mm-hmm.
So what are the future plans that you have for the Babysitting Guru?
Yes. I would hope to eventually, expand more and reach out to more babysitters, especially with the launch of the course. Working with more brands, just being that representation right there. And also something that I'm starting new is working with these agencies. I kind of want to work with agencies in terms of nanny agencies and with doing the course, the training course, and possibly doing it in person too. So whoever, goes to them like, hey, can you sign me up as a babysitter? And they're like, okay, maybe take this course before you sign up. So, something like that, or doing the courses in person, doing like info sessions with agencies. And then also consulting at home workplaces, like children work from home spaces, communities, going to events. I'm doing a lot of public speaking events, like at baby shows,
Cool.
Like I feel like there's never representation there for someone that can represent nannies or someone that can represent babysitters. The one thing is when you have a baby, if you don't have family and friends around you, you need someone to help you. It takes a village to raise a child, right? So
Right.
if I'm able to speak at these events and tell them like, congratulations, you're welcome to this new beautiful individual, but you're going to need help. And this is what you need to do A through C to get that help.
Yeah. And you mentioned even with family around. So, I mean, both my wife's parents and my parents are, within 15 minutes of us. And even then, they're, both of us are the youngest. So the parents are getting a little bit older and you can't necessarily rely on them either. So it's very, very cool to be able to have that resource for a babysitter. One thing that you mentioned that kind of stuck out to me, though, is working with the agencies, thinking about a nanny agency that isn't necessarily your target demographic, but at the same time, what about those people that come to a nanny agency and it doesn't fit for them? They need a more short-term option and they can refer directly to you, which is a great idea.
Mm-hmm. And I love building relationships. Even though it's a nanny, we're all the same. So by me reaching out to these nanny agencies and their owners, and I have plenty of them on Instagram, and they see the content that I put out there, they like what I do. So just by having them right there and seeing what I do and hopefully being of a resource to them would be great, building on that relationship.
Well, especially with the babysitting you mentioned, there is usually a quicker need for it. A nanny, you plan that out a little bit more long term before that happens. Like we've had to reschedule this podcast because you had an emergency call and to go babysit. And then, I've also had to reschedule this call because I had a child that was sick and I didn't have a babysitter there. So we should be helping each other out here.
Yep. Life happens.
Yes, for sure. So what is something that somebody who's starting a business today or starting their side hustle today, what's one thing that they should be doing every single day?
Research. I'm always on my laptop, like 24/7. So since I run the Babysitter Guru full time, I'm work from home majority of the time. And when I do, I'm always on my laptop looking for other resources, looking for other people to connect with, because that's so important. Also looking to see what brands is looking for like something new, right? Something new that they haven't done before. Searching up public speaking engagement opportunities. There's these shows that happen, 8 months from now. Why not reach out to them to see if they need someone to speak on a certain topic, So every day on my computer doing research, every day doing social media outreach all the time, creating content. So because I have the YouTube channel, I do a lot of video recording, editing, and all that stuff. Taking great visuals outside because I saw that visuals great pictures, self.
Yeah.
So taking the pictures. And then, just building the Babysitter Guru every day, communicating with people via email. I love when I get an email in my inbox. I love it. It's like Christmas. So
That's
just
good.
communicating every day, doing the outreach that I could possibly can to grow the Babysitter Guru. Because if you don't do it, who's going to do it, right? That's where the whole passion kicks into play. If you're passionate about it, you're going to go for it. Give it 110% without any doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you mentioned, if you're not going to do it, nobody else is going to do it for you. So you might as well do it. So the speaking gigs, I want to talk to you a little bit about that. I think that's a great opportunity for you and a great idea to help expand the brand, but it's a topic that is a little bit different. Have you had much trouble getting people to understand your perspective on this, or has that been a pretty easy transition for you?
It takes a bit of explaining because when they first hear it, they automatically think a babysitter and a parent, with that, do they match them? Are you an agency? Like, I don't understand. I did my first speaking engagement earlier last month, and it was on side hustles. It was literally on side hustles. And it was about, my journey from turning my side hustle into a full-blown business. So that was my first speaking engagement. Loved it, obsessed with it. And when I first started speaking, people were like, wow, like, that's interesting. That's kind of unique. I've never heard of that before. So that kind of gave me the encouragement just to, do all the outreach to other shows, baby networking opportunities where I could just, be in front of parents and just talk to them. I just recently applied for another baby show in DC for the month of March. Currently I'm in the works of, finalizing my agreement with them. But that was something I had to explain to them too. They're like, wow, that's actually interesting. Like we're hoping for you to speak to a group of moms and telling them, hey, this is what you should look for before hiring a babysitter. These are things that you should stay away from, the pros and the cons, the do's and the don'ts. So yeah, I feel like once it starts picking up, people start to understand it. And I feel like once I give you my first pitch, you're hooked.
For sure. And the great thing is, I think you've got an infectious personality and you've got a great voice for the speaking. So when we talked a little bit before we started recording about we found each other through Spot a Guest, and I just was overwhelmed by how many people responded. And I've been recording podcasts like crazy, but I had to go through and find the people that actually matched what I wanted to talk about. And so, I dug into, who you were, looked at your social media platforms and all that. And I'm like, you know what, she's perfect for this, talking about the side hustle. And then just like I mentioned, you're just an infectious personality, which is awesome. And I think you've got a great future in the speaking, let alone in the Babysitter Guru. So.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Trent. Thank you so much.
No problem. So I want to be cognizant of your time, but I want to give you some time also to, shout out anybody or tell us where to find you and find out more information about you. Sure.
So I am on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my personal LinkedIn. But once you go on my page, you'll see my huge banner with my logo. And my motto is changing the childcare industry one babysitter at a time. So that's my motto. That's what I'm all about. So yeah, those are the 4 social media channels I am on. Someone did mention to do like a Twitter. And I'm like, Twitter? I've never done Twitter before. So I'm looking into that maybe for the new year. But yeah, those are my 4 social media channels. You'll find me there. I post consistently, especially in my YouTube videos. I'm actually posting one today.
Cool.
This topic would be on cameras in the house.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's
something I didn't think about, but yeah, that is a good topic to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Very controversial too. So that's another video I'm posting today. So yeah, so my videos on YouTube are for both parents and babysitters. I'm talking directly to babysitters, but the information I talk about would be of use to parents as well. On my Instagram, I do little videos like my partnership videos with Sitter City, for example. I kind of did like a day in a life of a babysitter. So I did like little snippets of the morning, leaving my house, playing with the kids on my way back from home. So that's those type of videos on Instagram. Little tips here and there, tip 101, tip 102 that you'll find on my Instagram. For my Facebook, it's the same kind of content, but much cleaner. And on my LinkedIn, I do inspirational posts. So storytelling, a lot of storytelling, and I love storytelling.
Yeah.
So that's what I do.
And storytelling sells.
Storytelling definitely sells. It sure does. It sure does.
And you've got a trip coming up, which is very cool, hoping to expand your network internationally, right?
Yes. So I'll be away in West Africa for a month. I'm visiting extended family, but it's definitely an opportunity to expand. So worldwide, the Babysitter Girl.
Very cool. Well, we'll look forward to your worldwide expansion next year, which this episode will probably actually air after you get back, which is very cool. And I look forward to following up with you, see how that went. But I want to thank you for your time again. Really appreciate that you took time out of your day to talk to me, and appreciate all the value that you provide to the audience.
Thank you so much for having me, Trent. Thank you for everyone who's listening and tuning in. I hope to see you guys soon on my social media platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. So for all those that listen, I know you got value out of this, because I personally did as well. And I want you to take it and get out there and hustle the day.
Hustle hard, guys.
Thanks for listening to the Hustle the Day podcast all the way through. I really appreciate that. I just want to let you know that I help small businesses with their online strategy. So if you or anyone that you know needs help with their online strategy and owns a small business, I'm your guy. Go ahead and connect with me at Trent V. Bray on Instagram or TrentVBray.com.